it's like 8 here and welcome back to my channel. Today's video we're going to be going on to Creatures of Sonaria and doing a how to defeat the Easter boss easily, solo or with a group. So I'll basically be telling you guys some tips on how to fight the Easter event boss creature and how to basically fight this guy. So if you guys want to do it the easy way or something around that, this would be preferred to do. But anyway, with all that said, make sure to subscribe to become Late Potatoes and like this video if you guys enjoy my videos. And let's get right into the video. So we're going to be looking at the very first boss fight I did other than the one I did on my very last video on the Creatures of Sonaria. And as you can see right here, I just spawned in. I would suggest going around the egg. Don't really go in the middle unless you want to. If you go into the middle, then you'd be spawning in with, like, the things would be spawning in under you. So I would suggest staying around it. Kind of used my stamina in the very first one, so I had very low stamina. And that's a really bad thing to have because you can outrun these guys with walking and with running. But if you have really low stamina, it's going to be difficult in a way. And I'm a baby right now, so I mean, it's really bad in stamina sometimes with babies. So basically, the first wave is pretty easy. We don't really have to worry about anything other than that. I would suggest doing the first wave just like running after these little guys right here and biting them, because after you run after them and then run away, you will be able to not be hit. Sometimes they will hit you, but it's not really difficult to not get hit. And they are not the strongest. The other ones are though, so I would be careful about the red ones. And a way to tell these guys apart is you can see right here on the second wave, we have the brighter color green bigger ones. So they're bigger than the other ones. So each wave, I guess they become bigger and they are different colors. So to tell them apart, that's how you can tell them. The first one, the easiest one, is a very dark color and it's the smallest out of all of them. Then the second one, which is the second wave right now, is these guys. They're kind of a green. They're a bit brighter and lighter than the other ones and they're a bit much bigger. Then the next ones, I believe, are the yellow ones, and they're a bit stronger as well. They all get stronger every wave. And then the last ones are the red ones, which is the most strongest ones out of the group. And then you guys got to be careful for those guys. They can take down your health, but I honestly think that the smaller little mob guys are actually stronger in teams than the bosses itself. So basically, I'm finishing up this wave right here. And they do have PvE on. As you can see, we have now the last wave, which is the red guys. And they are pretty slow, so you guys can outrun these. So if you guys have really bad health, then either fly or run. It's better to do that. And I would let some people do the killing if you guys are in a group. Solo, I guess you just have to outrun them. I will show you guys the solo part in a second, but this is the group one. I just want to show you guys how to do this with a group. So it is good to hit them though, to help people out and also to get more shrooms, because I have noticed that every time you do go into the boss, you get more shrooms. I had 30 the very first time I did fight, and then the last time I fought, which was my last recording, I think, I got around like 50. So it does go up in the shrooms, and this is actually a new way to grind. So if you guys don't have much shrooms and you guys want to grind these, this would be a good way to do it, just fighting the boss, because it's not that hard. And if you have good creatures or kind of good creatures, you can definitely defeat the boss solo or something around that. So after defeating the 3 waves of the boss, then the boss mobs, then we have this guy. He spawns right in the middle, so I would be wary of being right there if you guys are not the strongest creature. He does have like a little circle that comes up every now and then, and it doesn't do too much damage, and I don't think you can outrun if you're a slow creature. So if you're in the middle of it and you're attacking him, I wouldn't suggest just trying to run away. It's going to be a bit useless. I would say stay near him, because to be honest, this guy doesn't do much damage to you. As you can see, it barely did anything, and I'm just a baby. I feel like they should at least buff it just a tiny bit more, because it's kind of like weak. And the mobs are actually a bit stronger, I think. I'm pretty sure they act stronger. Well, I mean, they're in groups, so obviously they'd be acting stronger. But as you can see, I keep losing stamina because the first round I kept running around, and I'm a baby, so the stamina kind of sucks on some babies. But with the group, it's a lot easier to do these guys. Now, I'm not completely sure on how you get the buff one. I think it's just basically luck. I don't think that if you do the last hit that you will get this guy, because I did one of the battles, I did hit him last time, and after that one hit, then I just got shroomed. So it's basically based off of luck, and it's pretty easy to do this around a group. I wouldn't say that it's like Dragon Adventures where you have to like race around to get everything after the boss dies. You basically just have to fight him together. So this is pretty good if you guys do not want to fight him alone. A group is suggested if you guys do not have the best creatures or you just don't want to fight him alone. Now, I would suggest that killing some of these mobs would be helpful, because if you're fighting this guy and the mobs come around, they can easily surprise you and try to do a lot of damage to you. Like in my last video, one of the red mobs surprised me and got me in pretty bad health. So I would suggest that you would kill these mobs, because when you're attacking them, as you can see there, they will charge after the person attacking the thing the most. So I would basically try killing as many as you can, but still attack the big guy and focus on him a little bit too. Now, I do want to say that if you guys want to have a creature that you want to do this solo, then I would suggest doing something like the tier 5 creatures. And if you guys have little low creatures and you guys want to do this with the group, I would suggest having one with high health, mainly because you don't really want to do, you want to do a lot of damage, but you don't really need to if you're in a group. There'll be a lot of people backing you up, but as long as you have a lot of health, you're not really going to be bothered and you're going to be fine about that. So with solo, it's kind of the same. It's basically a bit similar, but it's a bit different. Everything is coming at you in solo, basically. You don't really have anyone else backing you up there. But I would suggest having like a 5 tier or something around that. It's not that hard to be defeated without anyone's help, because sometimes they'll, I guess, glitch and it will be there the same time that you go into there and just spawn in, because that happened in the recording I'm showing in the background. It's not difficult to defeat this guy. I wouldn't suggest using a weak creature like the 1 tiers or 2 tiers or anything like that, but I would say that maybe a 4 and a 3 tier, that it would be easier to use, and the 5 tier, it's like really easy. But the boss isn't that hard overall. It's kind of easy in a way. The mobs are the hard part, because they just annoy you, and every time that you're fighting this guy, you think you got it, and then they come in, you gotta run away, and it's just a mess. Yeah, the mobs actually seem to be stronger, as I said in the past of this video. So now we're gonna move on to what you should use in groups and solo fighting for this boss. So none of these will be in a specific order, but I will say that some of these are going to be better in ways than other ones might not be. So these all are good to be used in the boss fight for creatures with groups or with solo fights on the boss. So the very first one I'm going to be talking about today is the Gramos, and this one is probably going to be one of the best ones out of the creatures I will be talking about today. This one, it seems as though the creatures or the mobs are having a difficult time hitting this one, as the other ones, it didn't really take that long to kill them, and they didn't really hit you as much as the Gramos, as the other ones would be more difficult to get away from their hits. So with this is also good for groups, and as I can say, this guy would be used for basically destroying the boss. You can also use this guy for the mobs, but the mobs seem a little bit difficult to hit with this guy though, as the other ones, they can be a bit easier. And with the group, I would say maybe use this guy if you guys just want to focus on the boss, because he has a good amount of health that if the mobs do hit you, it wouldn't take that much and it wouldn't harm you as much unless you keep letting them hit you. Other than that, they are really good to use to just focus on the boss. As for solo, this guy is also amazing to use as well, and probably the best one to use for solo fighting on this boss, because I have recorded the times for all the boss fights I've used on all the creatures I am using in today's video, and this one seemed to be the one that did this job the quickest and the one that defeated the boss the quickest, because I guess it has more damage and it takes not too long to defeat it. The Grimace is also pretty slow though, so if it's running away from you like the boss or anything, it could be a bit difficult to catch up to him, but other than that, I would say that this one would be pretty easy to use if you guys want to do it quickest, or you just want to defeat the boss without having to worry about health or anything like that. The appetite also seems to go down very slowly as well, so you don't have to worry about starving to death or dehydrating to death in the boss fight, because I know some of them I had trouble with keeping them alive while I was doing the boss fight. because their food would go down quickly or something like that, and I'll explain some of those creatures after the grandmas. The next one is the Kin, and the Kin is probably going to be one of the third best to use if you're going to be using it. I would suggest using this guy in groups other than solos. I have noticed in solos that he kind of has less defense in his own way, and when the mobs hit him, it kind of gives more damage than it would the grandmas. And the boss also gives a lot more damage, and he's more vulnerable to the boss than he is to the grandmas is to the boss. So I would suggest using this guy for a group. Solo, I don't know, he's not the best at being used in solo. He is a little bit below of the grandmas on the timing for how long he beat the boss, but he is one of the ones that did it the quickest, not as quick as the grandmas would do, and some of the other creatures would be better to use in solo than he would be used. But I say that if you guys are doing it in a group, I would suggest using this guy or the grandmas if you don't have the grandmas or you don't have him. Because he is really good to use, yes, and he has good damage. I think he has a little bit more than grandmas does, but he does not do bleed, and he kind of is a little bit defenseless, and he has less health than the grandmas does. The next one is going to be the Lameco-Suadan, and I'm pretty sure that's how it's pronounced because the name's extremely long, and it's like, oof. But anyway, this one's probably going to be the best one to use in solo and in groups. I did say the grandmas was going to be one of the best ones, but this is actually one of the best ones to use. This one is I don't think it's difficult to get because I got it at the very beginning. I'm pretty sure it's not that difficult to get, even it's a herbivore too, so I think the herbivore gachas are not that much either. Now these guys do have two attacks. One is if you stay still and hit the attack button, it will make them raise their front feet and stomp on people. Now this one is probably one of the slowest attacks that it has, so I would recommend not really using it if you guys don't want to be attacked. The mobs do have a little bit of trouble, as I could see right here, that the mobs had a little bit of trouble trying to reach me, which is a good thing, and I'm pretty sure that the taller you are, the harder it's going to be to reach you, and, well, the bigger you are, it's going to be harder for them to reach you. And it also does have a tail attack, and this happens when you're moving and hitting the attack button. With this, it's like swipes, and it does the same amount of damage, I guess, of the attack that the stomp does. I'm thinking that they have the same damage. If not, they have a little bit more with the stomp than they do the tail. But these guys are extremely good to use on the boss. I would recommend using it on the boss because sometimes it can be hard to hit the mobs themselves. That's the only trouble I really came across. So if you guys are going to be using this, I would mainly ignore the mobs if you guys are doing a solo and just focus on the boss until it dies. And if you guys are using it in groups, I would just focus on the boss too, as other people will probably be targeting the mobs while you attack the boss. It's kind of like a win-win for you guys if you guys are doing a group. Now this one actually had the shortest amount of time fighting this guy. Of course, I had a tiny bit of help, but there wasn't much help in this, and I'm pretty sure this would still be the very quickest they have done it so far. Now the next one I'm going to be talking about is the Jot, and this one's probably going to be the best flyer to use in the boss. This guy is one of the best flyers, I'm pretty sure, in the whole game. Now this one probably has the slowest time for beating the boss, so it's not suggested to use this guy for solo, but if you guys are wanting to use it in a group and you don't want to get hit, I would suggest using it because in my video that I'm showing in the background, I noticed that it was so hard to hit the boss and not be killed by the mobs at the same time, so I decided to stay in the air and keep blasting at him with my water breath, which is what I think it has. Now there is a lot of trouble with using the Jot though. It might be the best one to use as a flyer, but I do not recommend it a lot for using it in solo. If you guys are going to use it in groups, that's amazing and great, and it will be a lot of help for the people that are fighting the boss because it's good at ranging and it won't be hit by mobs or the boss. If you guys are just in the air shooting at it, the only problem you have with that is stamina and sometimes getting hit by the little circle that the boss brings out. But the troubles I came across in solo is the mobs were extremely hard to hit without making them not hit me, as they would not non-stop try hitting me and it would actually hit me. With adults on every creature, I think it gets harder for the mobs to hit you because your hitbox is a little bit, I guess, taller, and it's a little bit difficult. But for me, the Jot was still being hit constantly, and it was giving my health really bad looks. And the boss I also had trouble with just biting him. Normally all the creatures I've been showing now, you can just go up to the boss and bite him until he dies. But for this one, the boss seemed to take a lot of my health up when he would attack me. So I decided to just stay in the air and attack him. So the only way the Jot is really good for using bosses is to range him and to basically attack him while you're in the air where no one can hit you. So I would suggest using this as a group and not a solo kind of fight for the creatures. So basically this is going to be all for the video, but I do want to say what the times were for all the creatures that I suggested to use. The first one is the Gramus, which was 3 minutes and 46 seconds. The next one is the Kin, which was 4 minutes and 52 seconds. El Mako, I think that's what it's pronounced because it's a really long name, is 2 minutes and 6 seconds. And the Jot is 8 minutes and 11 seconds. Now, before I do show my last clip, which is going to be the buff creature fighting the buff boss, I want to say some tips. There's 2 tips I want to kind of give, or 2 or 3. The first one is if you guys are having trouble fighting the mobs, you can always make them follow you to the end of the map and then fly over or like go the other way or turn the other way. And some of them will be caught in the terrain on the very end of the map. Some of them might not. It takes a while to do some of them, and some of you just have to kill because they won't do it. Another tip is to stay still when the mobs are getting you. If you don't want them hitting you and you don't like that they hit you, just stay completely still when you're fighting the boss. And sometimes if you're tall enough or you're big enough, they won't bite you. But if you're too small, this is not a good tip to use because they will probably hit you. But anyway, this is it for the video. I hope you guys did enjoy. I hope you guys do enjoy this little bit of last clip of someone fighting the buff boss as the buff creature that you get from it. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye! Wow.